This is perhaps the ideal if I wanted to take a Civic Type R to the track. And what makes this car really special is that it's not only a full race-based model, which was actually sold back in the day as something that you don't see anymore. In the 80s and the 90s, you could buy a model without any of the creature comforts such as power windows, conditioning, ABS. It was just meant straight to be converted into a race car. In that day, they had something called the N1 and also the 1 make series. So a customer could actually buy a road car, register with a number plate, put in a roll cage, all the safety equipment, and take it racing. Now this Civic Type R EK9 is one of the examples of a Super Type 2 spec car done up by Spoon. And you can see here, this is a FRP style one. This is quite different from the ones that they sell on their parts. It doesn't have this vent, but this one does. But we're seeing an example of some prototype parts here. And you can tell because this is made from a body in white. As I explained in detail in one of my earlier videos, you see the gray here, it's painted purposely so you can see if there's any cracks. This is very typical in the race cars. The outside is painted with whatever colors that the livery of the team requires. And this engine is actually just a stock engine, but rebuilt to fine accuracy with balanced parts. And really you don't need any more power once it's finely tuned. But you can see the paint is really new, and this is just a piece of history for Spoon, and also to give some joy to Honda fans who love these cars and want to see what a real race car looks like. And this is where it gets very interesting. Inside you will see a full kit that's welded in, and it's also a very good example to see how a race car is constructed. Now at the back you have the fuel cell, which is a larger capacity, of course, for endurance racing, and these are safety regulations. But the roll cage, as you can see, it's quite minimal, and it's welded into the body shell by regulations as well. And inside also is stripped of all things necessary, which is typical in a race car of the interior, except it has to maintain the main dashboard. The instrument cluster is replaced by a racing style one that has all of the necessary gauges also for water temperature, oil pressure, and the speedometer and the rev counter. This is a one-off, obviously, no air conditioning, and you can see that it's just bare bones.
Volvo. They built this, a Volvo C30 S2000, and they used it to win the Swedish Touring Car Championship. To celebrate, the same engineers and designers who worked on that car were given the job of making a road version of their C30.
To your brand new Audi RS3.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. You've gone for the turbo blue.
I did.
So the same colour as the one we surprised you with. Was that already the colour that you wanted to pick, or seeing it in the flesh, did that just confirm it?
I was going to go with the Tango Red.
Okay.
But when I saw the one that you brought, I followed your advice. And I thought, wow, that is the one for me.
watch me go, 'cause I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. Don't need
Before we dive in, we're going to cover what's new for 2024. Now, when this thing came out last year, it made a huge splash. And the second model year keeps the circuit grade, which is what we have here. But you now get blue flame paint, which again is what we have here and is incredible. But the blue flame paint also gets you blue stitching on the interior. And it also gets you these blacked out or black decaled side skirts, which is pretty cool. And you get lighter multi-spoke wheels now for 2024. But if you've been under a rock and you don't know what this thing is, we'll talk about it here. Now, this is kind of the first true GR product, at least the first one that comes to North American shores. The 86 is largely Subaru, the Supra is largely BMW, so this and the original GR Yaris are the first dedicated Toyota full project GR cars, and they're pretty cool. The thing I like about these cars is the character that you get, and that kind of starts with the exhaust. You get 3 tips, which is what you get on the Type R, but they're different here. You get one on the left, one on the right, and then one in the center. So no matter where you get rear-ended, you're gonna get your exhaust wrecked, but it's gonna look and sound pretty cool. Now, we're gonna talk engine, but just look at this paint. Oh my God, this is incredible. Oh. Anyway, the engine here, not a 4-cylinder like everything else in this segment. This is actually a retune of the exclusive rally homologated GR Yaris's engine. That means it's a 1.6 turbocharged 3-cylinder 1.2.3. You can tell from the carbon engulfed fangs here on the engine, dead giveaway. Here it makes 300 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque. We'll talk more about this behind the wheel later, but you've also got GR on your intake here, and just pretty cool. But it's not just the exhaust that gives the Corolla some personality. You've got these hugely flared hips. This is almost chined like a boat, where you've got kind of a smooth front and then an aggressive chine at the back for stability. And of course, your front is flared as well with some air extraction. And it's just pretty cool. It definitely gives it a more muscular, sporty, and aggressive stance. I mean, just look at this. How can you not love the look of this? Bright sunlight, blue flake paint, and crazy front gill. Now, just like last year, there's a couple different grades that you can get your Corolla in. And the first is kind of the core, and your hood isn't gonna look like this. This is the circuit trim, and it's a dead giveaway because you have these hood scoops. This is pretty cool. Now, you also, part of the circuit trim, can get this forged carbon roof, which looks incredible. If you don't want a sunroof, this is a pretty slick way to go. And the circuits also get a bigger and blacker rear wing, which, as you can see, looks pretty incredible with this blue flare paint. But up front, you also have this massively enlarged grille. You've got fog lights, LEDs, GR here, but you look through and you have GR4, their all-wheel drive system, painted onto the radiator. That is pretty sweet. It looks very cool, very race car from the factory. And then speaking of GR4, this is their new, well, I guess not new anymore, all-wheel drive system. We'll talk about it a little bit more behind the wheel and some of the crazy stuff that you can do. But with this and the blue flare, well, actually, I think as standard, you get GR4 embossed into your side skirt. But with the blue flare paint here, you get these black decals that we talked about earlier. And this is pretty sweet. Now the GR4 and the all-wheel drive system makes this and the Golf R kind of the only all-wheel drive vehicles in the segment, depending on how you classify something like a mini JCW. But either way, importantly, we go back to the grades here. Now, the base being the core, you're not going to get limited slip differentials on the front or the rear. If you go up to the circuit, which is what we have here, you will get LSDs on the front and the rear, and that's pretty nice to have, especially if you're going to drive it hard and on track.